Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're all having a good night. This is Weapon X Comics, and today we're going to enter StrangexBlade's contest. Now, I apologize, StrangexBlade. I know I told you about a month ago I was going to do this, but I had to move a whole lot of boxes to get these books out. So, um, thanks for changing the rules so that I didn't have to have a slab because I don't have any slab books. So, let's go ahead and get started with this. Okay, when I was a kid, when was this? What year was this? God damn. Early 90s. I was at a Lucky's grocery store with my mother, and I saw these two on a rack, and yeah, she bought them for me. So I was really happy, and I don't know if you could tell, but I read the hell out of these things when I was a little kid, and I would always crack open that Web of Spider-Man and just check out all the artwork, and I was really in love with these books for a long time, and I've kept them all these years. These are the exact books that I had, my first books ever. Web of Spider-Man number 90 and Uncanny X-Men 291. Yeah, the Web of Spider-Man, I used to crack that thing open all the time and trace over the drawings on the inside as a kid. So I was really happy with these, and I'm glad I still own them. For a long time they were in storage, and in the last 2 months I think I picked them up, and yeah, I was happy to find these in there again. I did not get rid of them at any point. So these are my first comics ever. So let me see. Um, the next category was you want to see rare books, low print run. So I did my best to try to research this, but I never really look up print runs online. I never realized how difficult it was. It actually took me a long time. It's kind of embarrassing how long it took me to get the information I did. Some of the books I didn't have any information on, so I apologize about that. But I really did try to find print runs and that sort of info on the books. One of the books I didn't find any real info on was this one, Punisher Armory number 10. Very low print run book, really hard to find in the wild. I've been lucky enough. I was lucky enough to find this copy a while back at the Claremont Packing House, and I bought the whole set for like $5. So something like that. You could check out one of my old videos to see exactly what I paid for it. But yeah, I was really happy to find that low print run book. Really hard to find that guy. Another book I didn't really find any information on, unfortunately, was this book, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. Now, there's not. I figured something like this would be on recalledcomics.com, but it's not for whatever reason. There's other Millennium Edition books that have the Millennium Edition stamp missing, such as this one, but for some reason this one doesn't have a category in there. And I wasn't actually able to find any information about Millennium Edition print runs, unfortunately. But I imagine it's pretty low. Next book I do have a little bit of information on. This is X-Men number 25. This is a reprint that came out in like 2003? Was it 2003 or 98? Now I'm getting confused with another book. But anyway, there were a series of X-Men comics that were reprinted around this time, and the number that I found was 3,963. And I'm not sure if that's for this book or for all 6 of them. Now, I'm fairly certain it meant that 3,963 was a print run for the entire run, for all of them. So if you break it down into 6, that comes out to 661. So there's 660, I believe, 661 copies of this reprint of X-Men number 25, and that's far lower than the X-Men 25 gold variant. That's 1 in 200, and the sketch variant that was a 1 in 50. I couldn't find exact numbers on X-Men print runs for the early 90s, X-Men number 25. But everything around it seemed to have been about a million and a half copies sent out. So I'm just going to I was just estimating there was about 1 million copies of X-Men number 25. Um, if there were 1 million copies of X-Men number 25 printed, that means 1 in 200 of those would have been gold editions. So that would have brought the print run of the gold edition to 5,000 books if there were 1 million printed. If there were 1 million printed and there was 1 in 50 of the sketch edition, that would come out to 20,000. So as you can see, there's far fewer of these around than the gold or the silver. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye out for if you're out in the wild and you happen upon this book. It doesn't really go for much, but it's kind of a sleeper at the moment. The next few books all have the same print run, but I was trying my best to pick out stuff that maybe other people weren't going to show. This is X-Men the Pressman variant for number 11. There were 1,000 copies of this printed, and it went out in a board game. So this X-Men Volume 2, number 11. I got Uncanny X-Men number 303, also a Pressman, and Uncanny X-Men number 307. All three of those had a print run of 1,000 books. So who knows how many of those are still around? What do you think a kid's going to do with a comic book he finds in a board game? So they're going to be really beat up. So yeah, I'm happy I have those three. I'm really happy I found those. All right, next up, we're going to go with some RRP variants. This is Fables number 101. I ended up getting a good deal on this guy, too. Not really too much to say about it. Again, I couldn't find any solid numbers about this. I do have another RRP, and that one was about a 200 book or less print run on that. So that was the only information I was able to find. And that book is this, Fables number 6. This is probably, yeah, this has got to be like the holy grail of all the Fables books. I was so excited when I found that. Again, that was a 200 book or less print run. So it was just given out to people who went to the retailer roundtable program in I think it was in the Holiday Inn in Burbank, California. So if you were there, you got one of these, and you'd be really lucky to have it. And I highly recommend reading Fables if you've never gotten around to reading that. Next up is Uncanny X-Men number 423. This is actually a price variant. You can see that. It says $2.25, but of course it says 25 cents. It's supposed to be a 25 center. Let me see. I might have some notes written on this guy. It looks like there may have been about 90,000 copies or so of this printed. I couldn't find exact numbers for this book, but I found 422 and 424 had about a 90,000 book print run. So just, I'm just saying that. It could have been more, but again, I couldn't find exact numbers for it. About 10% of all of Uncanny X-Men 423, the 25-cent book, were newsstands. Only the newsstands got this funky pricing. So only about 10% of those went to newsstands, and only so many of them had this problem. So any of the copies they didn't sell went back and they got pulped, or they went to the wayside. So this is an extremely difficult book to find. There's also a version of this book that it's missing this only 25 cents, and it just has the $2.25 price tag on it. It's still a desirable book, but it's much better to find the one with both prices on it. So if saying about 10% of all the books that were printed comes out to about $9,000, and so it's much less. There are much less than $9,000 of this book, because only so many of them got the error. So, but yeah, that's all right. Moving on. Next up, we have 30 Days a Night. Number 1 is the first print. The first run of this book is 3,800 copies. So, wow, really hard book to find in the wild. And if you're looking for one, yeah, good luck. I really hope. I wish all the luck to you. As this book, I think it was about a decade. I had a copy of this, and like an idiot, I traded it away. Yeah, and that was like my first regret. And I finally found another copy of this for $30 or something. I think it was $30 sometime. Was it last year? I think it was last year. So yeah, I'm just happy I have this one. It's a really hard book to find, especially in the wild. And last up, I got Milk and Cheese. And thanks to Hero Hunter 81, he let me know that this book had a 4,000 book print run. This is the first print. So yeah, I really did my best to try and find the print run numbers, and maybe try to find a few things that maybe wouldn't be typically showed in the other videos. So I really hope you enjoy it, and enjoyed the video. And I recommend everybody who's watching this, please go and subscribe to StrangexBlade and enter the contest as well. It's really easy. Just show a couple of books. All right. Well, thank you very much. You guys have a good night, and thanks again, StrangexBlade. Sorry it took me so long, and if the contest is over, no worries. All right. Good night.